Hello, and welcome to Friday Focus, where we do not focus on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Today, we want to discuss the book of Job. You see, the book of Job addresses the problem of theodicy, that is, defense of God's goodness and omnipotence in view of the existence of evil. In other words, it's dealing with why God permits evil in the world. I've jotted down some key verses. The first one is from Job 1:1. There once was a man named Job who lived in the land of Uz. He was blameless, a man of complete integrity. He feared God and stayed away from evil. And then the next one is also from Job chapter 1, but verses 21 and 22. He said, I came naked from my mother's womb, and I will be naked when I leave. The Lord gave me what I had, and the Lord has taken it away. Praise the name of the Lord. In all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God. And then Job 38, verses 1 and 2. Then the Lord answered Job from the whirlwind, Who is this that questions my wisdom with such ignorant words? And finally, Job 42, verses 5 and 6, where Job says, I had only heard about you before, but now I have seen you with my own eyes. I take back everything I said, and I sit in dust and ashes to show my repentance. This brings us to our questions concerning the book of Job, the first one being, who wrote Job? The book doesn't tell us who wrote it. However, scholars have put forward several possibilities, and these possibilities include Job, who would have been best able to tell his story and recall his own words. Then there's Elihu, the fourth of Job's friends that came to be with him. Some say Moses, and others say Solomon. It is most likely Job. Well, when was Job written? The date of the book is dependent on who its author was. If Moses wrote it, it would have been written somewhere around 1440 BC. If it was Solomon, we would be looking at about 950 BC. If Job was the author, it could predate Moses. Where did Job take place? Well, according to Job 1, verse 1, we learn that Job was from the land of Uz. Now, nobody knows the location of Uz. Scholars think it was outside of Canaan and probably near the desert, because the customs, the vocabulary, and references to geography and natural history actually relate to northern Arabia. What is Job about? The opening scene of Job is heaven. Satan has come to accuse Job before God. He claims that Job serves God for what he gets from God. God grants permission for Satan to test Job, but sets boundaries on the testing. The book takes on the question, why do the righteous suffer? It's this question that is raised after Job loses his family, his wealth, and his health. Three friends of Job, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, along with a fourth man, Elihu, come to comfort him and to try and put Job's tragedies into perspective. Job's friends are sure he is being punished for the sin in his life. However, Job rejects that and remains steadfast in the fact that his life has not been one of sin. Finally, Elihu speaks up, telling Job he needs to humble himself and submit to God's use of trials to purify his life. Finally, Job questions God directly and learns about God's sovereignty. Job realizes he needs to trust in God completely. In the end, God restores Job's life and his possessions way beyond his original state. So why was Job written? Job brings to us a message that says Satan has limits. He cannot bring financial and physical destruction upon us unless God allows it. God has full power over what Satan can and cannot do. As for the why behind it all, it is beyond our human ability to understand. It is the ultimate test in trusting that God knows best. And it is best to trust Him despite our thoughts, feelings, and weaknesses. Suffering may be an instrument used to purify, test, teach, or strengthen us. Perhaps it's helpful to take the long view that God is preparing us here for an eternity of service to Him. Now, I'm not saying that God lashes out and afflicts, but for His own purposes, He may allow it. Our outlook should be the same as Paul's word to the Romans in Romans chapter 8, verse 28. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose for them. So, everything works together for the good, not the bad, the good of those who love the Lord. No experience we as believers go through is wasted. Everything is somehow managed for our good, either now or for eternity. So what's the Job takeaway? What can we learn that we can take into our lives and apply? Well, Job reminds us of the great spiritual conflict raging in the spirit realm. The Apostle Paul affirms this. If you remember Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, we are not fighting against flesh and blood enemies, but against evil rulers and authorities of the unseen world, against mighty powers in this dark world, and against evil spirits in the heavenly places. Despite all of Job's difficulties, he still trusted God implicitly. Job knew what the psalmist knew when he said in Psalm 18, verse 30, God's way is perfect. All the Lord's promises prove true. He is a shield for all who look to Him for protection. The point of the book of Job is not where is God in all our suffering, but where are we in all our suffering? Do we still trust God, or are we busy blaming Him? It's not easy learning to trust. We do so by going through one situation after another and trusting God through it all, and seeing His faithfulness in all situations. We must trust God when we do not understand, and the reason we have to do that is just because we do not understand. Look at Job's reaction in Job chapter 1, verse 22. I love it. And there have been times in my life when I have actually quoted this verse to the Lord. And I said that, Lord, this is what my take on things is going to be. In Job chapter 1, verse 22, in all of this, Job did not sin by blaming God. That's hard to do. When everything is coming apart at the seams and falling down around you, or you're going through something, it's a crisis, and there doesn't seem to be understanding or hope, sometimes we have to make a choice. And by an act of our free will, just say, Lord, I'm not going to blame you. I'm going to trust you. As Lauren Daigle sings, when you don't move the mountains, I'm needing you to move. When you don't part the waters, I wish I could walk through. When you don't give the answers as I cry out to you, I will trust, I will trust, I will trust in you. This is Dr. Vic Hollyfriend in His grace.